This is an insanely powerful game-breaking skill. Kang Hyun doesn't realize what it truly means to never die, even when he might want to. He becomes the most infamous hunter on Earth, cursed with an immortal body. For the survival of humanity, or perhaps for a world that's already lost, he resurrects alone, once again, today. The undead, with their eternal life and dark power, believe that conquering Earth will be a simple task. They march forward with confidence, certain of their victory. But as their invasion unfolds, they encounter a human unlike any they have ever faced, a man they cannot kill, no matter how hard they try. One of the undead, puzzled and frustrated, looks at this mysterious man, wondering how he manages to survive their relentless attacks. The man emerges from the flames with a fierce, wild smile, his eyes burning with determination. He is stronger than them, and his voice is full of unshakable confidence. Without hesitation, he charges at them, unleashing his fury, and in a swift, powerful attack, he destroys the undead, leaving nothing but ashes behind. 2 years before the epic battle, Kang lives with his sister, Hyun, in a tense small apartment. Frustrated by Kang's endless gaming and drinking, Hyun snaps, telling him he might as well move back in with their dad. Her words cut deep, and Kang retreats to his room, wishing life could be like a video game. As he drifts off to sleep, Kang suddenly finds himself in a strange place. System messages inform him that Earth has connected with a mysterious dimension called Hoenn, and a tutorial program begins. He must complete 8 stages to awaken. Fear grips Kang when he sees Hyun is there too. They argue but realize it's not a dream. Facing the challenge, they cross a crumbling bridge over lava, narrowly surviving. A system message congratulates them for surviving the first stage and announces their temporary awakening. Back in the real world, they're confused and disbelieving. Was it just a dream? But they soon discover others have had the same terrifying experience, marking the start of a 5-year process that will change their lives forever. Kang and Hyun step out of their rooms at the same time, their faces tense with the weight of recent events. They talk about what happened, trying to make sense of their strange experiences. But as they continue, frustration builds, and they end up snapping at each other. The tension doesn't last long as their growling stomachs remind them they haven't eaten. They decide to grab something to eat before continuing their conversation. As they eat, they check the internet for answers. To their shock, they discover that the bizarre event wasn't just a dream. It was real, affecting people worldwide. This realization hits hard. Kang learns that while dying in the dream doesn't mean dying in real life, it has left many traumatized. Strangely, Kang isn't as disturbed as he thought he'd be. He decides that staying indoors is the safest option, away from the chaos outside. Kang walks to the window and looks outside. He sees people fighting over food, protesting, and looting. The world outside is falling apart. Hyun mentions that going to work probably isn't an option anymore. Kang agrees, realizing it's too dangerous to step outside. Kang's thoughts shift, and he asks Hyun if she remembers anything about the Hoenn connection. She recalls something and asks if he's checked his status window. Kang feels frustrated for not checking it earlier. When he finally does, he discovers they have 5 years to prepare. The weight of the unknown presses on him, making him wonder if that will be enough time. They decide to stay home until the outside world calms down. Kang notices how focused Kang's thoughts have become. As night falls and Korea quiets, Kang, exhausted, goes to bed, but wakes to a floating system window. It welcomes him back to the tutorial, offering a review. Skipping it, Kang checks his status and discovers rebirth, a powerful ability that excites him, though he's unsure of its strength. Curiosity drives Kang to read the detailed description of his ability. He learns that it allows him to come back to life 24 hours after dying. If he doesn't choose a specific place to revive, he'll return to the last place he slept. But there's a penalty. His level will drop by 1, and all his stats will be reduced by 50% for 24 hours after revival. However, this penalty doesn't apply during the tutorial program. Kang feels joy. This ability might be the key to his survival. The system asks if he wants to move on to the second stage, and without hesitation, he agrees, eager for the challenge. With rebirth on his side, he feels invincible, ready to face whatever comes next, though he has no idea what's waiting for him. The second stage hits Kang like a cold splash of reality. He faces a grotesque goblin monster, its appearance horrifying. Kang steels himself, grabs his weapon, and charges at the creature with all his might. He yells as he swings the mace, channeling his fear and determination into the blow. The stage is simple: defeat enemies and prove his strength. Kang manages to kill the goblin with a powerful hit, crushing its skull. But the victory is hollow. The sight of the goblin's lifeless body and the rancid smell churns his stomach. It's the first time he's ever killed anything, and it doesn't feel good. He moves forward, feeling only a small sense of pride. He barely defeated the weak goblin and knows he could have been the one lying dead on the ground. As Kang walks forward, his heart still pounding, he spots another goblin. But this one is different, bigger, meaner, and far more terrifying. Panic grips him as he realizes this goblin isn't just stronger, it's also furious. It spots the body of its fallen comrade and roars with rage. A system window labels the creature as a goblin warrior. This warrior wields a massive sword with a glowing red aura. Kang's panic deepens. He thought he was ready, but this goblin warrior is on a different level. He realizes that if he gets hit by that weapon, it could be fatal. The goblin warrior laughs cruelly, sending chills down Kang's spine. It charges at him with overwhelming speed and power. Kang tries to brace himself, but his body is weak and unprepared. His weapon suddenly feels pitiful in comparison. The goblin warrior doesn't waste time and begins pummeling Kang mercilessly, each blow sending waves of pain through his body. But the goblin doesn't kill him outright. It seems to take pleasure in drawing out his suffering, inflicting terrible injuries one after another. Kang can't do anything but endure the agony, his mind reeling from the brutality. Then the goblin warrior drags Kang away, and a new terror grips him. He's powerless, helpless, unable to resist. All he can do is wish for an escape, for this nightmare to end, or for someone to rescue him. As he's dragged across the ground, Kang's thoughts blur with pain and despair. He never imagined that facing a goblin could be this terrifying, that it could end like this. He realizes just how much blood a person can lose before death finally claims them, especially when that death comes at the hands of relentless goblins. Hyun wakes up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding with fear. She quickly goes to Kang's room, her mind racing with worry. The strange dreams have returned, and dread fills her. As she opens the door, her headache throbs, but what she sees freezes her in shock. Kang is huddled under a blanket, trembling with fear, his eyes wide with despair. Kang looks up, pale and sad, and tells her he died in the dream. His voice shakes as he describes the nightmare. Goblins torturing him, tearing off his fingernails, breaking his fingers, pulling out his teeth. The horror in his voice makes Hyun's stomach churn, and she begs him to stop, unable to listen any longer. When she asks if Kang has been crying, he snaps at her, anger in his eyes. He says she wouldn't understand unless she went through it herself. Even the strongest would cry after what he experienced. But then, she notices a flicker of a joke in his expression, and she feels a bit relieved, realizing he's trying to lighten the mood. Hyun asks if Kang needs to go to the hospital. Kang shakes his head, surprised by the question. Many are having psychological issues because of these dreams, but he can't afford the hospital bills. Kang sighs with relief and mentions that since he died in the stage, the tutorial is over for him. Kang's face brightens a bit, thinking the nightmare might finally be over. But that night, peace is far from his reach. Kang wakes up again, and his heart sinks when a system window appears, informing him that he has to repeat the second stage. Frustration explodes within him, and he screams into the darkness, cursing. The system coldly tells him he won't face the resurrection penalty because of his rebirth ability during the tutorial. Desperate to escape, Kang tries to go back to sleep, hoping time will pass, but nothing changes. The nightmare remains. Thoughts of ending his life cross his mind, but he knows it would only bring him back to the same point. Realizing there's no way out, he steels himself to complete the mission. Determined, Kang chooses a weapon. Last time, he picked a mace, but this time he goes for a bow and spear, hoping ranged combat will give him an advantage. He aims carefully at 2 goblins with his bow, but only scratches one. The goblins find him quickly and charge. Grabbing his spear, Kang prepares to fight, knowing it's hard to be perfect on the first try. He runs at one goblin, puts all his strength into the attack, and kills it with a single blow. But as he struggles to pull the spear out, the other goblin strikes him down instantly. Kang wakes up in a panic, but this time, there's strange relief. He died quickly, without suffering the torture he feared. But soon enough, he's back in the second stage, again. This time, he chooses a sword and shield, thinking he might have better luck. He even watches YouTube videos on sword fighting, feeling more prepared. But once more, he is killed, and frustration builds inside him. Hearing his cries of anger, Hyun opens his door, shocked by what she sees. Kang's face has a wild, eerie look, and he's laughing in a way that sends chills down her spine. The next day, Kang enters the second stage for the 4th time. Before stepping into the fortress, he practices swinging his sword, determined to improve his skills. After 8 hours of practice, his endurance stat increases. Exhausted, he collapses, his body aching. But there's a glimmer of hope. Opening his status window, Kang sees he has earned an extra point to add to any stat. He adds it to his strength and charges at the goblin again, feeling more confident. But just like before, he's too exhausted and is quickly defeated. On his 5th attempt, Kang trains harder, pushing himself to the limit. His endurance increases again. By the 6th try, he manages to take down 2 goblins, but his body is still weak. On his 7th attempt, Kang swings his sword non-stop. His endurance rises, but he collapses from exhaustion. As he lies there, a system window informs him he has learned basic swordsmanship, rank F. The skill isn't impressive, but to Kang, it feels like a victory. He grabs his sword, heart pounding with excitement. This time, he's ready. He's determined to kill every last one of those goblins. Kang carefully reviews the information about the second stage, his heart pounding with anticipation. He learns he must face 5 goblins, 2 in the fortress and 3 in the forest. The 2 in the fortress don't worry him anymore. He plans to surprise the first with a swift arrow and take down the second with a precise strike. But the real challenge lies in the forest, where 3 goblins wait. Venturing into the forest, Kang defeats 2 goblins using the same tactics. But the final goblin is different, stronger, faster, and more cunning. Locked in a fierce battle, Kang raises his shield just in time to block a wild swing, feeling the impact through his arm. He notices his fighting skills have sharpened. He predicts the goblin's moves, his body reacting as if his swordsmanship skill has truly come alive. However, after battling 4 goblins, Kang's endurance wears thin. The goblin sees this and knocks the sword from his hand with a powerful strike. Panic surges as the goblin keeps attacking relentlessly. Just as it seems Kang will lose, a calm smile spreads across his face. He dodges the next strike with surprising grace. Kang finally understands the goblins' fighting style. They enjoy toying with their enemies. Seizing the moment, he kicks dirt into the goblin's eyes. The goblin thrashes in pain, losing its vision. Kang grabs a rock and smashes it into the goblin's leg. The goblin howls, swinging its weapon blindly. Kang darts behind it and, as the goblin's vision clears, leaps forward and delivers a final, crushing blow to its face. The goblin falls, lifeless. Breathing heavily, Kang realizes he has completed the second stage. Exhilaration fills him as the system rewards him with 5 stat points and a new weapon choice. He also gains 2 new skills, Basic Shield and Basic Bow. As more system messages flash, he learns his level has increased twice. Laughing triumphantly, he declares this is the true power of humans. Returning to the real world, Kang decides to celebrate by cooking breakfast. But his moment of peace is interrupted when Hyun bursts through the door. System messages appear, announcing that Earth's tutorial program is complete, and users can now use the system freely. Kang and Han exchange shocked glances, but their concern grows when another message states that dungeons have been activated. They rush outside to see a glowing red gate. A message declares that only the awakened can enter. Similar gates are appearing worldwide, and a countdown begins, 4 years and 354 days until the full connection between Horn and Earth. Chaos ensues as dungeons appear. Kang and Hyun decide to stay inside, determined to figure out what's happening. Kang realizes he must face the third stage head-on. With renewed confidence, he steps into the night, ready for whatever comes next, only to be met with a golden liquid dripping onto his face in disgust. As Kang and Hyun navigate this dangerous new reality, their journey is only beginning. With dungeons appearing worldwide and the countdown to Earth's full connection with Horn ticking down, the stakes have never been higher. Will Kang's newfound powers be enough to protect them both? And what other challenges lie ahead in the next stages of the tutorial? If you're eager to find out, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue this epic story. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next chapter.